There are thousands of virtual assistants, maybe millions. However, there's a small percentage of virtual assistants that are exceptional. And those kind of virtual assistants clients not want to lose. So today we're going to talk about what separates the two, the average and the exceptional. Welcome back to the Art of Virtual Assisting with me, Stephanie Lopepe, your host and the founder of Virtually Steph. Today, we're going to talk about what separates the average virtual assistant and the exceptional virtual assistant. It is not the tools. It is not the experience. It's definitely not the templates. It is these four things. First, emotional intelligence, right? The ability to read the room is important, right? So when you're interacting with a client and you realize maybe the client is not in the best state of mind, maybe they are stressed, etc., etc., it is your job as the virtual assistant to read the room, right? And then that will detect the tone you use, the communication you have, and the solutions you provide. You also need to take the step into understanding your clients a lot more better, right? The ability to understand what your client needs, what your client is trying to achieve with the business will help you execute a lot better. And lastly, communication. How are you in communicating the clients? What is your communications maturity? How do you communicate when there's tension in the room? How do you communicate when there's joy in the room? How do you communicate when there's a bit of confusion happening? Your communication is seen in your writing, whether it's in your emails, whether it's in the content you are producing, whether it's in the customer service you are having, also in person. How do you communicate when you're having a direct when you're having a direct meeting with a client, right? Whether it's in person, whether it's on a Zoom call, your communication skills is a reflection of your emotional maturity or your emotional intelligence. Number two, proactivity. Do not be a virtual assistant that is reactive. You need to be proactive. You need to be able to anticipate a need, right? You could be busy in a project, right? And then you could realize there's a bit of misalignment, a bit of misunderstanding happening. If we don't sort it out now, it will delay us in meeting our deadline, right? So you're already anticipating something that could happen. You also need to just not identify a problem. You need to be able to provide a solution, right? Don't just be, we always say, be solution driven. That means that you know that there's an issue, but what is your solution to solve that issue? If you have that as part of how you serve your clients, you are already on the way of becoming the top 1% of virtual assistants, right? And lastly, improving systems. When you are proactive, right, you are with a client, you see that how they run things doesn't work for you, or at least it slows down your work process. You could suggest system improvement. You could be like, hey, let's try this system. Let's try the structure. Let's try the software. Let's change service providers. This one is a lot more efficient, right? When you are putting in those systems, you're putting in new structure, you're already an exceptional virtual assistant, right? And the third thing, we are going to talk about ownership. Ownership. And I learned, I think the things that I'll list on are very very basic, but the word ownership is something I learned as an operations virtual assistant, right? The first thing under ownership is accountability, right? So if you communicate something, or if there's an agreement between you and the client, or between you and the client's team, you need to be accountable for your actions, right? We do the work, we put in the structure, we put in the results, we put in the work, sorry. The results may be good or bad. Like you cannot be held accountable whether clients or customers receive your client's work. But what you are be held accountable is the work you put in, right? Are you meeting your deadlines? Are you communicating effectively? Are you putting in the correct systems that were discussed? Can you identify what an issue is, right? Can you take responsibility whether something works out or something doesn't, right? That is ownership, right? When a task is given to you, when you are running a department, are you able to take ownership of that? That is part of accountability. Another thing under ownership is clear communication, right? Do not be vague in what you're communicating to your clients, what you're communicating as a service provider, right? You need to be clear. It's X and Y and it's Y and Z, right?
If you are listening to this episode, I want to assure you that everything I teach here, I actively do for my clients. I have transitioned from basic virtual assistant to business management and operations. My work now focuses on empowering established business owners with implementing systems, SOPs, structures that will help them effectively run the business. So if you are looking for executive support that will help you do the same for your business, I will encourage you to connect with me, Stephanie Lopepe. There's a link below this video, and then let's explore how we can work together.
Do not try and say it's ABC when something is X and Y. So you need to have clear lines of communication. Awesome. Number 3 under ownership is delivering beyond expectation. I know, like, I was always against that. I was always against delivering beyond what I'm contractually obligated to do, right? However, I realized when you over deliver with a client, they trust you with more work and you're able to charge more. So you need to be able to just make a bit of lines in how you are delivering your work. This is what I said I would do. This is what I've done. And this is what I've done beyond that. You need to be able to document that. And that helps the client see you as a valuable asset to their business, right? So deliver beyond expectation. Lastly, strategic thinking. All right. So for you to grow from a task-based virtual assistant into an operations, business management, even into a strategic business assistant, you need to have strategic thinking when you're executing your task, right? So you need to be able to see patterns. Okay, this is how my clients run the business. This is the goals they want to achieve. And these are the patterns that I've seen us go through into achieving that goal. So see those patterns, connect the dots, and improve on that, right? Another thing you can do is that you need to be able to support the growth of your client, right? In order for a client to help you or even promote you in their business, right? Because yeah, you are a service provider, right? But your roles can change. What you invoice can change. You need to be able to support the growth of that client, right? So you are not just doing a to-do list. You are not just doing what you've been communicated to do. You need to be able to be like, hey, if we do this, this will help you grow your business a lot better. And the majority of the time, when a client implement certain suggestion you as a service provider brings in, they usually see the growth. It may not be immediate, but they can see the growth, right? That's why systems and structures, new ones that are effective, are always better being put in place. You will see the results, right? So you see the pattern, you connect the dot, and you support the growth. You are already an exceptional virtual assistant. All right. So now we are going to go in through our virtual assistant insight segment. And today's question is, how do I move from a task-based virtual assistant into a strategic partner, right? All right. So, a task based virtual assistant is just completing a to do list. You're asking the question, what needs to be done? However, a strategic business partner, right, brings transformation to the client. You are asking what needs to be achieved, or you're asking the client, what are you trying to do, right? So from there, you know already strategies need to be put in place. You are not just completing a to-do list. The work that you are completing is going to bring transformation to the client, right? And then strategy begins with you seeing the bigger picture for the client. I remember with my first coaching client, I knew the bigger picture for the clients is that she eventually wants to go into coaching full time, right? That means that we need to grow a lot faster, and we need to implement strategic, like systems in place to make sure we achieve that goal, right? So already we knew organic marketing was important to us. We knew we had to build a funnel. We knew that we had to go into paid ads. We knew that we had to take email marketing seriously, right? So all those things, I already could see the bigger picture. The client could see that I was the right person to help them achieve what they are looking for. So you can see the bigger picture for a client. You can already upskill in order to help them get there. You are already a strategic based virtual assistant, right? And then another thing is that you need to be able to make observation, right? Identify the issue, provide solutions, and make improvements, right? Somebody who's task based, they're just doing to-do list. Hey, I sent the emails, I answered to the comments, I did a proposal, etc., etc. But somebody who wants to be involved into the strategy of the business, they take time to make the assessment, to observe, identify the problem, provide strategic solutions, and have and implement the change, right? So if you can see yourself there, then you're already into the space of strategy, of being a strategic business partner. All right. So the shift happens when you start thinking like your client, you start thinking like the business owner, not just the service provider, right? So when you can take on their vision, embody what you need to do, you will already see the solutions that needs to be implemented, right? So my reminder for you is that an exceptional virtual assistant doesn't just complete tasks. They help the client elevate their business. They help the client grow their business. That's when you know that you've achieved what you need to do. All right. Thank you so much for today. Should you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you next time. Bye.